everyone, my name is Pei-Hsuan. I'm from Taiwan. I'm an associate professor at the National Zhengzhi University. This is my research topic. Please feel free to download this PowerPoint file by scanning this QR code with your cell phone. You will also see the same QR code on almost every slide in this presentation. This study is related to one of the museum collections, the ancient locks, specifically ancient Chinese lock. What are ancient locks? For example, here is a sliding spring lock. The spring can lock the door or a treasure box, so you need a special design key head to enter the keyhole and then press down on the spring to unlock it. This lock has only one pair of springs, as illustrated at the upper right side of the slide. On the left-hand side are some combination locks. The combination is in Chinese letters or characters. This kind of design is often seen in the number locks that we use every day on a bicycle or a safe to store our valuable items in the house. The animal shapes or other symbols of fortune give form to the combination locks, as do the types of metal and the engraving patterns. On the right, these are also spring locks, but they have 4 springs. So you can imagine the mechanisms inside the lock itself and how using the key head to unlock it is more complicated than the one-spring locks. These collection items are worthy of being digitally archived. The collector is a full professor from the southern part of Taiwan. His name is Dr. Pei-Hsuan. He got into the hobby of collecting from his 2 PhD advisors in 1986. He has collected a lot of items and donated a lot to the museum. At this website address, you will find the digitally archived ancient Chinese locks. Visiting the exhibitions on the website is very different from visiting a real museum. So, it is important to offer visitors as rich an interaction as possible during the exhibition. More than that, this study intends to explore how a cultural brand reflecting the lock's ancient wisdoms can be promoted in a rich interactive 3D space, that is, Second Life. Currently, Taiwan is still under a shelter-in-place order due to COVID-19. The virtual museum with the exhibition of the ancient Chinese locks in Second Life is always open, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The visitors are from everywhere. The lock is a very common object in ancient times, and we use it every day too. For the ancient people, even though sometimes a lock represented a wealthy and powerful person in society, it was a useful and highly practical object for everyone. The lock's internal mechanical structure and the key lock interactions designed in the ancient time reflect not only the ancient people's wisdoms, but also represent what was considered practical. This is precisely the cultural brand that this study wanted to promote. As this study's purpose is to promote the cultural brand of ancient locks practicality, 3 research questions were first raised before exploring the ways to develop the promotion model for this cultural brand. Visitors with different educational levels come from all over the world, so they have different visiting styles and perspectives on the museum exhibition's objects. The way visitors interact with others in the virtual museum and with the exhibition objects are all different. In other words, visitors have different IT demands when they are visiting the exhibitions in the virtual museum. Their satisfactions with the virtual museum also needed to be explored and their responses to be compared with those of on-site visitors. So, this study starting with a literature review to define the term cultural brand by reflecting the practical values of ancient Chinese locks. Then, a survey was developed to investigate virtual and on-site visitors' perspectives about visiting the virtual museum in Second Life. The survey contains some open-ended questions, so a content analysis was also carried out. Comparative analysis between virtual and on-site visitors' responses were also conducted. Finally, a promotion model of the ancient locks cultural brand is proposed. The photos at the top were taken at the real site. The museum is in the university where the collector Dr. Pei-Hsuan is teaching. He was the curator of this museum several years ago. The development of the Second Life virtual museum and virtual exhibition was initiated right after the real exhibition was open. As you can see from the slide, the virtual museum is intentionally different from the real one, since we expect visitors to physically come to visit the museum if they could. So we imitated the textures and designs of the real locks, but we made the virtual ancient locks shinier than the real one. We also try to provide the visitors with rich visiting experiences that cannot be offered by the real museum. For example, here is a large-sized lock called a pullback lock. It was created to allow visitors to fly inside the internal part of the lock. The visitors can explore from their own perspectives the key lock interactive mechanism. The participants can fill out either an online or paper-based survey after visiting the real museum. 2 monitors were also available for them to visit the virtual museum. The visitors can fill out the survey by comparing the 2 formats of the museum. They can also choose one format of the museum to visit. This study received 766 valid surveys in total. Note that a short version of the survey also containing 3 parts was given to children. The valid number of responses from children was 112. Very young kids could use drawing to answer the 4 open-ended questions. The short versions of the survey was paper-based and was distributed to children. In total, 112 valid responses were obtained in this study. The data here are the survey analysis results. Overall, most children's visiting experiences were positive. This table contains the descriptive analysis result of the responses from the visitors who were in middle school or older. As you can see, there were more males than females, more adults ages 19 to 22 than youth, more college or university students than the other educational levels, and the background of the on-site visitors tended to be in liberal arts. This table shows the descriptive analysis results of the survey responses regarding the satisfaction level, the IT demand, and the comprehension level. As we can see, the real museum is a better learning environment than the virtual museum. The visitors could better understand what they were looking at in the exhibition room. They wished that the real museum would offer a more interesting and fun environment, such as the one in the virtual museum. For example, while they could touch the real locks to understand the interactive mechanisms, it was not as fun as they would like. Improving this aspect would be more supportive in promoting the culture of ancient locks. As for the virtual museum visitors, they hope to experience an authentic presentation of an ancient artifact so that their satisfactions and comprehension levels can be improved. Certainly, as more simulated ancient locks appear in the virtual museum, the visitors' IT demands is likely to increase. Table 4 presents the one-way ANOVA result of comparing the real and the virtual visitor survey responses. We can find significant differences in the satisfaction level. Table 4 presents the one-way ANOVA results of comparing the real and the virtual visitor survey responses. We can find significant differences in the satisfaction level and comprehension level of college students and graduate students, but not in the IT demands. Table 5 shows that visitors with different educational backgrounds had higher satisfaction and comprehension levels for the real museum than the virtual one. Also, different types of visitor had different IT demands associated with each museum format. Table 6 organizes the wishes made by the on-site visitors who were in middle school or older. The virtual museum visitors had more wishes than the on-site visitors. On-site visitors were impressed by the real ancient locks placed in the well-designed exhibition room and being allowed to touch the ancient locks. Virtual museum visitors were almost impressed by the museum's visiting format on the Second Life. They also expected more 3D models of the ancient locks, more sound effects, and more interactivity to zoom in and out. They also wished that docent services were provided in the virtual museum if possible. Overall, both on-site and virtual museum visitors hope to understand more about the historical and cultural background of the ancient locks and believe that the exhibition should be better publicized so more people could know about it. Here, we conclude that the real museum can feature more thorough designs and planning, more ancient locks, and explanations from docents, but it needs better lighting and audio effects in the physical exhibition room. The virtual museum falls short of the concrete representation of the historical traces left on these ancient artifacts, so it needs a very innovative IT design to reinforce the sense of realness for these artifacts. Table 7 provides the management strategy for the cultural brand, and it includes two parts: learning-oriented services and the fundamental facility-related services. The promotion model of the ancient locks cultural brand is proposed here in the middle of the box with two circles. Starting from the visitor study carried out in this study, we kept revising the presentation methods to better present the exhibition objects, that is, ancient locks, to meet different types of visitors' demands in both the virtual and the real museum. At the top, the history and the cultural significance of the exhibition objects are fundamental to all formats of the museum. Finally, the promotion model expects to transfer existing values from the real museum to the virtual one. Certainly, the virtual museum helps push the cultural brand onto the international stage through the advertising of a virtual museum, so that more people can see the ancient lock exhibitions and understand the practical value of these locks. The real museum can gain additional support through the virtual museum's promotion and endorsements. Finally, learning and growth are never-ending and without borders. Virtual museum value in promoting cultural brands is especially meaningful in this regard. Thank you for your attention.